Hi friends and welcome to Only Green. To make a lush forest out of a barren land near the Ranthambore National Park in Rajasthan and that land gradually being inhabited by all wild animals including the Royal Bengal Tiger. The story of this couple, Aditya Singh and Poonam Singh, is really inspiring for any wildlife enthusiast. It is a story of determination, hope, and untiring perseverance. Let's hear the story from Mr. Aditya. Welcome, Aditya, to Only Green.
Hi, thank you.
Okay. Owning a forest in which we find all kinds of wild animals and no monetary returns as such. What is the emotion behind this? And that too after leaving a very comfortable job and coming and staying in Badlav near Ranthambore would have been a challenge. And that too when the decision was to move in as a family. So what is the emotion behind this moving in?
So, we moved to Ranthambore in 1998. At that time, I'd been married for about 3 years. And my wife, both of us had decided to move. And we came here, we took up a small building on lease and we started running a resort there. So a few months later, a documentary filmmaking crew from BBC, they moved in, they came here for a project and they were staying with us. So while we were doing this, during the film, they wanted one sequence of a set of videos of a tiger walking in agricultural fields just outside the forest.
Okay.
So at that time we did our local research and we figured out that there's this place called Badlav. That's a good place where good chances of this happening. And we went there quite a few times, and then after a couple of attempts, we actually managed. We filmed one male tiger walking through fields over there. Okay. That got me curious, and then when I went back and asked those farmers that whose land is it. So it belonged to small farmers, and most of them were quite desperate to sell and get out. But there were no buyers because at that time, even a four-wheel drive couldn't reach that area. You would drive till somewhere and then you had to walk the last 1 kilometer. So I decided my wife Poonam and I, we decided to start buying land. And gradually in the next 2-3 years, we bought about 35 to 40 acres.
This was done in one shot or bought as different?
We bought it in 2-3 years time. Okay. The reason was at that time even we didn't have much money. I mean, we didn't have the money to buy it in one shot. Okay. So we bought whatever we could, and then the next person was ready to sell. You tell him that okay, I don't have money now, so wait for 6 months. There was no one else who was willing to buy it there. So after we bought this land, then we fenced that land, and you have to prepare that because these are agricultural fields. So we had to break the what they call made out here, which is small, low 2-3 feet high walls made out of mud to differentiate one field from the other. So we had to break that. We had to break dig some cross contour ditches to stop water. We did basic water management, fenced that area, and all of along the edge we built up these mud walls so that rainwater won't flow out of the land. And we forgot about it. So it took, now when you say, you buy a big patch of land, especially in North India, you can't forget about it. You have to go check it every day. Otherwise, somebody else will grab it.
Okay.
So we had 1 or 2 people, a team of 2 people who would be there, monitoring the, and you have to make sure that cattle doesn't go into graze. So in a few years' time, first these bushes started coming like bare and then rough grasses. And surprisingly, after 5-6 years, we started seeing trees, which is quite strange because this being a dry deciduous area, the trees grow quite slowly. Trees don't go fast.
But these were not planted, it just grew on its own.
It just grew on its own. So we were quite clear right from the beginning that we are not going to plant anything. So I believe that if you start planting trees, you're creating a plantation. You're not creating a natural jungle.
Okay.
Because plantation generally assumes planting trees at a certain distance from each other, which in a period of time, when you see a big patch of land where a plantation has been done, the trees are in almost like a pattern. Like, there's a tree and then 20 feet later there's another tree. They're almost in straight lines, or there's some pattern. In nature, there's no pattern.
Okay.
Nature, there are no straight lines in nature. Very rarely do you see straight lines, all curves. So you thought just let it be. In 5 years' time, we started seeing trees. And that was because we realized later that the root stock was there in the fields, especially where two fields met. That's where the first trees came. Because the root stock was there, people had cut the tree. But the roots so those were the trees that came out first.
Okay.
And then in about 10 years' time, that area was dense enough that for about 6 months a year, it was difficult to. There were certain paths where you could walk through. You can't just randomly walk around.
Okay.
And we started seeing animals. The wildlife starts coming from the first year. The moment you stop farming and you organize your water in such a way that there are 1 or 2 water points in the land which are always full throughout the year. Initially, the wildlife that came were like, we got a lot of birds, we got a lot of small mammals like hares and porcupines, hedgehogs. But then, like bigger thing, like then we started getting antelopes like nilgai, wild boar, then sambar, and then the predators started coming. In about 8-10 years' time, it became a fairly well-established, what could you call a wild area as such.
Okay.
And now it's become, so one advantage with us was we were bordering the national park.
Okay.
So we actually just share the boundary wall with the forest.
Okay.
Yeah. So once the animals and this started coming, then we basically by that time about 10 years ago, the fence died out on its own. The initial fence that we had fixed, it gradually falls apart. The wires rust, they fall apart, and so the fence died out. And then we didn't even need the fence because now even if someone's cattle comes to graze, it's fine by us. It doesn't matter to us. So
okay.
And then it became an open forest, and it stayed like that for till now. The thing is planting forests is you need to make sure that it stays a forest for the next 100 years.
Okay.
Because we might not be alive, and maybe our next generation may just decide to sell the trees, and so we'll at some point we can get things registered as a community forest.
Okay.
At some point, we are going to get it registered as a community forest. In that case, it's still privately owned, but it will stay a forest. Even I can't cut it.
Okay.
So that is the way.
Okay. Now, if you look at it, what are the animals that are there in your area?
We get all the animals that you get in Ranthambore National Park.
Oh, I see.
All that.
Below tiger.
Yeah. Everything. It's part of different tigers' territories. It's part of leopards' territories. It's part. We are at the edge of a valley which goes right through Ranthambore National Park.
Okay.
And we share the boundary with that. And then the second thing is, in summers, the only water hole in that whole valley, the only natural water hole in that whole valley is actually on my land.
Oh, I see. Even on summer, there is water.
Even in the summers, there is water.
Okay.
So, and we have a well there, which we, somewhere in May and June, we have to fill that water hole. So we get, every year, we get a letter from the forest ranger there. Because we made it sort of formal, with them, after consulting them, we made it formal because we also don't want to be accused of by people saying that you're trying to attract animals for your. So we said, okay. So they gave us a letter that it's now, it looks like the water hole might dry out. So please, can you replenish it? So once a week we fill it up. And it's not like a big water hole. It's not like Kerala big water. Here, when you say a big water hole, it's 8 feet by 10 feet. But that's a lot of water for animals.
Okay.
And that's the only place where there is water. Other option if they have to go for water is like almost a 3 kilometer walk.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So in this 5-6 kilometer span, this is the only. And then secondly, because even we don't go, nobody goes there.
Okay.
If we, it's not as if there's somebody there every day. So no one, we just left it alone. So the animals don't, even in day, they don't get disturbed. Otherwise, what happens with most of these animals which are at the fringe of national parks, because in the day there are farmers in the fields and there are people walking around, the tractors driving across, they stay away.
Okay.
In our place, no one goes. There's no tractor going on. There's no one walking around there. Also, they just left it alone. So they stay throughout.
Then there'll be photographers and all coming in, right?
No, no one's allowed. No.
Oh, I see. Even they're not allowed.
No, we don't. It's a private thing. I mean, except for our immediate family and the 2 or 3 people who work there. No one really go there.
Okay. Now you said it's the adjoining property of the national park, which means you need to work very closely with the forest department also.
Yes, we to set it up. We've done that, and of course, so we need to work very closely with the forest department in the sense forest department needs our help more than we do. We don't need. We are not doing anything, so we don't really need the help. But they access things through. We have water. Actually, I have an open well there. And because of all this, the water harvesting and the patch of wild area that we built up, that well was actually dead. It got recharged. And now it has water throughout the year. So water around here is like, especially in May and June, it's the most expensive commodity not expensive, but it's the most in-demand commodity. Okay. So we've sometimes also fill another water hole for the forest department. I mean, they take their pipes, but they fill it from our well.
Okay. Now, I mean, doing it without any monetary benefits, what is the kind of satisfaction or happiness that you get out of this? The kick?
See, how it is, because of moving, I mean, we've been living here in the outskirts of Ranthambore since 98. At that time, it was a remote place with a very small market and things like that. So our expenses and our financial value system is not the same as, say, for a person living in Delhi. We had a tourism business. We were making a living out of it. We didn't really. It wasn't that we were. We weren't rich, but we weren't short of money either. So this was a nice thing, something we felt like it was making us feel happy. So we just kept doing it. As and when we had money, we just kept building it. And we never really thought about the monetizing part of it or the fact that it is not monetized. It was like buying that land initially for in the first 2-3 years, that cost a fair amount of money. That we did overstretch ourselves. But after that, taking care of it and getting of it was more time and effort commitment than financial as such. Once you've got the land, once you fenced it, now your expenses are not you are probably paying wages for two people, but they were farmers in the adjoining land. So what we were doing them was, we didn't really want them to work. We just had to pay them to make sure that nobody cuts the trees down or whatever. So they were like sort of guards, but we would pay them a supplement over their farming in. Like they can farm. I was paying them some 5,000 rupees per month extra, because while they're farming, they just have to look out that in my area no one's cutting a tree or any such thing. So that financially it wasn't the initial sum was a big outlay, but there wasn't a need to monetize it because we were short of money.
And your resort business is still on?
No, we closed down some. We ran it for quite some time. We closed down. We are semi-retired. We run a tour company. I take photographers out, so we do that. But the resort we closed down a few years.
Okay. Now, moving on from here, you mentioned about making it a community jungle kind of a thing and forming a trust. But then, what is your vision? Maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, what is the vision for this? And do you plan to
What I'm trying to do there is in that valley, there is probably 4 times or 5 times more land than what we have.
Okay.
It's all owned by about 40 or 50 small farmers.
Okay.
Now, because we are very close to the national park, the farming there is not so good because they have a lot of crop damage by animals.
Okay.
So I'm gradually trying to convince them, and like it started. I mean, people have started doing it. That stop crop farming and turn your place into an orchard. So this is a big belt for guava production,
Okay.
and a guava orchard actually gets you more of an income than farming does, than cropping does. But it's expensive to set that orchard up because for the first 3 years you don't have any income.
Okay.
The trees take 3 years, and only after 3 years can you start selling the guava. So for the first 3 years, someone has to sustain them. So we gradually convincing people there to start going into orchards. And what we telling them is like, don't convert your entire, like say if you have a 2-acre farm, don't convert all 2 acres to a guava. Like convert half an acre.
Okay.
And 2 years later, do another half acre. So that break is
gradual process.
Yeah. And it started working, and we've even offered that if you need funds for it, I can pitch in. So it's not really a grant that I'm giving them, but it's like a sort of a loan without any interest. You pay back when you start selling your. So
Okay.
my idea of going for orchard was, at one we thought of if we could buy that entire place out.
Okay.
But there's a limit. There's a legal limit too. I've already reached my quota for under the Land Ceiling Act of what I can.
Oh.
Secondly, then there's land there which belongs to scheduled caste category or scheduled tribe category, which we can't technically buy it.
Correct.
So the other option, it became quite clear that I can't buy that valley now. So the other option is now make that valley more animal friendly, more wildlife friendly. So now, if you're growing wheat, for instance, if a nilgai came into your field, you have to chase it out. But if you have guava orchards, which are now, the trees, once they're 4 years old, the tree is 20 feet tall or 15 feet tall. The nilgai can't damage it.
Okay.
So then the nilgai, it doesn't matter to you if the nilgai is roaming around inside your. So now we're trying to basically, I don't know if possible, I hopefully would be able to swing it in the next 7-8 years. Convert everyone there to orchards plantation. And then you'll actually have a 200 or 300 acre area, which is between two valleys of the national park, which is now open access to. Because, with orchards, the other thing is once your trees are more than 5 or 6 years old, you don't even need the fence.
Okay.
Because nothing can damage it. Like cattle can go through, animals can go through, anything can go through. It doesn't damage them.
Then you mentioned that your jungle, the jungle that you had created, is now fenced. There's no fencing around it.
There's no fencing.
Is there a threat to human life when you leave?
No, not really. No. See, the people living around here, the villagers living around here, they've been living with big predators, tigers, with wild animals around them for generations now. If you see, in fact, a lot of attacks here because of, especially tigers, because of tigers or leopards, attack on people have happened because people were a bit too arrogant about it. Because they're so used to it that they don't give it the safe zone or safe respect which should be given. I mean, we've seen people running behind tigers with lathis, with bamboo sticks.
Okay.
But they are by and large quite aware. They know that how to treat themselves, how to handle themselves. And secondly, predators don't really attack people much. If you have to be scared of wild animals out here, the two wild animals that out here that I would be slightly scared of, one is a bear, because bear's sense of sight and smell, and hearing is not so good. You can surprise a bear. And secondly, is probably the wild boar. I would not be scared of a tiger or a leopard. In Kerala, for instance, it will be the elephant that will scare you. You won't be, or like say in Tamil Nadu, you would be scared of elephants. You won't be scared of the tiger. The tiger, chances are you won't even see the tiger. Walking in the forest, you don't see the tiger. Like it goes around. But it's the elephant that is scary. So here too, it's like the threat to human life is not really an issue with predators as such.
Okay.
There are more attacks on people by wild boars than by tigers.
Okay. You even now stay close to this area, right?
So we actually, our house is about half an hour away from there.
Okay.
One reason for we have a place there, we can say there. One reason is my daughter goes to school, which is right now barely a kilometer away from where we live.
Okay.
The thing with Badlav is in the monsoons for 2-3 months, that area is on, there are days when you can't reach there in a car.
Oh, okay.
Once there are some nalas and some streams, if they are flowing, then for like 8-10 hours or 12 hours or so. Last year for like 5 days, you were cut off. You can't cross. So the only way you can cross is you park on one side and you cross that nala on foot. So you like waist deep water. So it's not very convenient for my kid to go to school.
Okay.
So we actually live in a house about half an hour's drive. Half an hour's drive, it's 10 kilometers away. But because the road is not so great, it takes half an hour.
Okay. Any interesting experiences that you faced there that you want to share? Something which could be an interesting thing to share.
No, so I mean, like, I don't even, it's interesting in the sense.
Something which you cherish as a good memory or a threat that you face, something like that.
I don't feel threatened by animals.
Okay.
Even the house where we live right now, it's part of 2 leopards territory. We see them quite often. So,
okay.
Not, and in Badlav actually, we've been seeing tigers for now since 2008 or 2009, almost regularly. I mean, there was like 2 years ago, there was one young male which actually moved in there and lived there from March till 1st of July. From 1st of March till 1st of July, he didn't step outside that land. And he was making kills over there. He killed a couple of cattle around too, but he dragged them to our land. And the forest department once even tranquilized him, took him back to back inside the national park. And I think that they tranquilized him at about 4 in the evening. And by 5:30 in the evening, they released him somewhere inside the national park. Next morning at 6 o'clock, we found him again in the land.
Okay.
And he stayed for another month over there. So we get a lot of these subadult, especially subadult males. What happens is when they grow up, they struggle to find space inside the national park because other males are chasing them.
Okay.
So a lot of them come to the periphery and they stay there till they build up confidence enough to start going in again. Okay. So we get a fair amount of those. But probably the most, for me personally, the most spectacular thing there, the most spectacular time there is right now because this flame of the forest is flowering.
Okay.
And the peacocks are displayed.
Oh.
And we can have at times like, up to 100, 200 peacocks.
Oh my God. Okay.
So we, like if you sleep there, you are going to wake up at 4 o'clock because the peacock's going to.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite things.
Now, moving on to your other passion, you mentioned that you do a guiding trip for photographers, and we know that you are a very renowned photographer. Can you take us through a trip through your photography?
Okay, so when I moved to Ranthambore, I picked up photography about 2 years after moving.
Okay, so that's about 2001, right?
2000 exactly.
Yeah.
2000 December is when I started. 2000 January is when I started taking the first. And that was also interesting. So, like I told you, we were working on a project with BBC.
Okay.
Shooting a documentary film. So there were four of us. There was one Irish cinematographer, director, me, and two driver trackers here, Billu and Salim.
Okay.
So at one point, the producer from UK said that they need still pictures for behind the scenes.
Okay.
So they sent down this kit, a Sony kit, a Canon still photography bag, a camera bag with still photography.
Yeah. Okay.
And this was like, of course, before digital, so all slide. But at that time, in 2000, it was difficult to, it wasn't very common to see big telephoto lenses and things in India, especially not 2.8s and f4s.
Okay.
So when we opened that kit, they had actually sent down a 300 2.8 lens, a 70-200 2.8 lens, and one wide angle and two Canon camera bodies, which would shoot, where we had to shoot on slides. Now, the kit landed up, and then it was, okay, who's going to shoot it? So we said, like, I don't know how to shoot. Salim said he doesn't know how to shoot. The other driver said, I don't know how to shoot. So the only one who knew how to shoot was the cinematographer, the cameraman, Colin. But he said, like, I have to shoot the film.
Okay.
So it came down to that, okay, who's going to start using the still camera? And it came down to me because I was the only one who they were confident can at least read the manual.
Okay.
So I actually started reading. I started off from the manual, and the film cameraman helped me out with basics and composition and things. And we photographed for but almost 2 years with their kit for.
Okay.
It was basically like, they were like, if you ask me, very bad pictures that we took. And we took it on this premises. The producer who sent that, he knew that obviously they won't be able to take professional pictures. But it came up with this thing that you shoot a lot. By fluke, you will get some right. So that's what we did. We were shooting like rolls and rolls every day. And in the end, they got some 50, 60 good pictures out of that. But that kind of set me going that, like, if that was my capacity, that you shoot, the guy is telling you straight on your face that you shoot a lot, and by fluke you will get some decent ones. So you need to change this. I need to start getting decent ones all the time, not by fluke. So then we started getting. Then I started, like, after that shoot got over, I actually hooked up with some good photographers with a lot of experience and started learning from them. And it became from, like, what started as a hobby became a passion. Then it became sort of nearly a profession, because then it became, there was a stage when photography was costing me more than $1 lakh a month. And this was in early, 2004, 2005. At that time, that was a lot of money. So I started selling on stock. And then for a good 15, 16 years, I actually made enough money to pay for the. But my other side of my business is I run these trips for serious wildlife people. Most of them are photographers, but not necessarily for photographers. And we run tours for them inside India, especially a lot into Ranthambore. And I also run tours with them to East Africa, South America, a couple of other places. I also work as a photography guide for a couple of UK-based agencies. They send me to tours around. That I do basically so that you get to travel. So that's a nice way to travel. Like, you're going somewhere with a group of serious photographers and you're getting paid to go.
Okay.
So, because some of these trips, like especially Africa, and particularly Africa and the Arctic, and they're very expensive to do, as a hobby. And to get good sets of pictures, you probably need to do 5 or 10 of those. So it helps me that as you go there as a guide, so your expenses are taken care of, and you also get paid to go there.
No, you have set up a jungle. You have a passion in photography. You help people get to do good work in photography. You take them on wildlife trips. And if there is one message out of all these passions, out of all these trips that you've done, if there is one message that you would like to give to our viewers, what could be that?
So, generally, environmentalism is very important. When I say environmentalism, I won't use the word environmentalism, that's too extreme. That's too. Back to kind of ground is very important. So my one message to pretty much everyone would be that, at some point in the last 30, 40 years or 40, 50 years, we have forgotten that we all talk about like, I want to go back to nature, I want to be one with nature. No. We've forgotten the basics that we are part of nature. We can't go back to nature. We are part of the natural system. And if we are changing it to our disadvantage, we are fairly stupid. Unfortunately, what has happened is our whole economy, our whole industry, our whole training, our whole work culture in the last 100 or 200 years has changed in such a way that we are, by and large, not so good for environment, each one of us. So if I have one message to give to everyone, if you ask me, the single biggest problem that wildlife faces, the tigers face, that climate faces, that farmers face, that the earth face is consumption. It can be summed down to consumption. Excessive consumption is what is everyone's problem. Your problem, my problem, tiger's problem, for us. So if I have one message, I have to you enjoy your holidays, enjoy your outing, enjoy your photography, have fun, visit forests, do all that. Just cut your consumption down by 5%. Not saying 500, 50%. Because 50% means a drastic change in lifestyle. Just cut that start with 5%. It's easy, like quite easy. I was given this message by my friend Guru who passed away a long time ago. And he said, just start with 5%. It's easy. And it'll make you feel good. Like we grew a forest. We didn't make money out of it. But basically, when you go there, it makes you feel very, very good. That you've done your, whatever you did a good thing for. So and it's easy for everyone to do it. I'm not saying make a forest or, plant 5,000 trees or something. Then just cut your lifestyle consumption, your annual consumption by 5%. That's it. You'll save money also.
Okay. So basically, I mean, rather than saying going back to the nature, be one with the nature. If you and I think that we are above nature, then we are very stupid. We all in the same planet. Mars is not an escape route for us. Moon is not an escape. There's no planet B. So we are part of the same thing. Correct. Thanks a lot, sir. I mean, it's been really interesting. I mean, you put the whole thing in a very, very, very interesting manner. I mean, it was really good talking to you. Thanks a lot for giving us a lot of insights. It was really enriching for us too.
My pleasure. Okay. All right.
Okay.